In today's episode, we will unveil a haunting tale of tragedy and triumph, buzzing anticipation and underlying shadows. In the summer of 1915, Chicago pulsated with anticipation. Thousands thronged the Chicago River, their eyes fixed on the majestic SS Eastland. Adorned with flags and shimmering in the morning sun, this vessel of speed and elegance promised a day of carefree escape to Michigan City. Yet, beneath the festive buzz, lurked a storm, a brewing tempest that would unleash one of the deadliest maritime disasters in American history. As your support means a lot to me and helps me create more content for you. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the fascinating history of the SS Eastland. Before we delve into the heart-wrenching true life story of that fateful day, let's rewind. The SS Eastland, under the St. Joseph Chicago Steamship Company's flag, had a checkered past. Whispers of safety violations and near misses clung to it like barnacles. Overcrowding incidents cast a shadow over the company's reputation, yet the Eastland sailed on, ferrying passengers across the waters. Among the passengers were George Sindelar, a Western Electric foreman, accompanied by his wife and 5 children. James Novotny, a skilled company cabinet maker, joined the journey with his wife and their 2 children. 2 young women, Anna Quinn, 22, and her, neighbor Carolina Homolka, 16. They both worked at Western Electric as clerks, had selected their best outfits for a day of fun and cheer. This event held special significance for many of the young workers, as it offered a rare Saturday respite from the routine of manufacturing and assembling telephone equipment, and presenting an opportunity to socialize with other eligible singles. The Eastland held the distinction of being the first scheduled boat to depart that day, as the year before she ran late, prompting employees to arrive early. By a few minutes past 7 a.m., a steady stream of day trippers, men, women and children were boarding at a rate of 50 per minute, closely monitored by 2 federal inspectors, following standard procedure. The Eastland was set to depart at 7:30 a.m. sharp. Excitement filled the air. Families, weary workers, and day trippers, each with their dreams and aspirations one by one, gathered on the riverfront. Tickets had been cheap and promised an escape from the monotony of daily life with a majestic picnic. As the sun kissed the water with its golden touch, nobody could have predicted the lurking tragedy about to unfold. As the clock ticked towards departure, the Eastland stood majestically tied to the dock. Little did the passengers know that this day of escape would be for some their hour alive. One name that often comes up in these discussions is Captain Harry Peterson, a seasoned mariner with years of experience navigating the waterways. Peterson, a Norwegian-American born in 1860 in Norway, with over 20 years of experience as a captain. Peterson noticed that the vessel had a noticeable list to one side. At 7:18 a.m. on July 24, 1915, the crew of the Great Lakes excursion steamer Eastland geared up for its morning journey. With the gangplank pulled in, a belated passenger had to make a leap from the wharf along the Chicago River to catch the ship. In spite of the cool, damp weather, a lively atmosphere filled the Eastland as 2,573 passengers and crew squeezed on board. Among them was E.W. Sladke, an unpunctual passenger who hurried to the promenade deck to join colleagues from the Western Electric Company's Hawthorne Works factory in nearby Cicero. The Eastland was part of a fleet of 5 vessels chartered to transport Western Electric workers and their families on a day-long outing from downtown Chicago to a park 38 miles across Lake Michigan to the southeast. The event was marked by a festive mood, with over 7,000 tickets sold. Captain Penderson, concerned about the ship's stability, had ordered the ballast tanks to be filled in an attempt to correct the imbalance. It seems that Peterson's actions may have inadvertently worsened the situation. By filling the ballast tanks while the ship was still tied to the dock, the weight distribution resulted in an unstable balance. The crew, a blend of veterans and novices, bustled about, trying to ensure a prompt and a smooth departure. Captain Peterson was generally admired for his skill and was nonetheless aware of the Eastland's known instability issues. And yet, propelled by the relentless demands of industry, the captain and his ship prepared for another journey. Families, day trippers, and workers, each carrying their unique stories, boarded the Eastland. Initially stable, the ship began to list subtly to one side. A collective unease rippled through the crowd, as nervous glances exchanged stories without words. Witnesses recalled the scene as surreal a ship, seemingly hesitant to leave its berth, betraying its very core of stability. Panic gnawed at the edges of their anticipation, and in a blink of an eye, the Eastland's subtle lean morphed into a chaotic nightmare. Still tethered to the dock, the ship lurched violently, plunging onto its side, trapping many passengers. Panic ensued, and the passengers, crew, and onlookers grappled with the unfolding horror. In the ill-fated commencement of the Eastland's journey, tragedy seized the vessel with a merciless grip. The air was still pregnant with anticipation as the steamer, only moments after departing from the dock, succumbed to a violent unforeseen force, thrusting the entire ship into a maelstrom of chaos. A tidal wave of panic cascaded through the once celebratory atmosphere as passengers frantically sought refuge. Confined within the unforgiving embrace of a watery and metallic tomb, the heavy wooden doors and windows, designed to be guardians against the elements, transformed into sinister wardens, holding the occupants against their will. The echoes of joyous conversations and melodies were instantly silenced, replaced by a nightmarish symphony of piercing screams, the ominous roar of water, and the anguished groans of a ship pushed recklessly beyond its limits. In the desperate tableau of survival, individuals trampled over one another, and families were torn asunder by the relentless onslaught of water and the frantic throng. Each soul engaged in an urgent struggle for life, but tragically, many found their demise beneath the weight of collapsing structures. As the unfolding nightmare continued its relentless grip, rescuers bravely entered the fray, some arriving on nearby boats. Their task was both emotional and formidable, plucking survivors from the icy clutches of the river, amidst the ongoing pandemonium. The sinuous path of the Chicago River, weaving through the vibrant city, has always embodied vitality and industry. It served as the pulsating heart of this bustling metropolis, adorned with boats, bridges, and ceaseless activity. However, in a tragic twist of fate, it would bear witness to the darkest chapter in American maritime history. As the Eastland set sail on its ill-fated journey, the narrative took a harrowing turn. In mere minutes of departing from the dock, the steamer veered abruptly, plunging the vessel into disarray. Panic, swift and unrelenting, seized the ship as passengers grappled desperately for safety. The aftermath of the Eastland catastrophe cast an ominous pall over Chicago. Families grieved the loss of their beloved, and the community wrestled with the profound impact of the tragedy. In its cruel wake, over 800 souls succumbed to the horrors of this calamity. Mothers, fathers, children, and friends were all swallowed by an instant of sheer terror. The news of the Eastland tragedy spread like wildfire, leaving the city of Chicago shrouded in collective mourning. The once thriving atmosphere along the riverbanks transformed into a somber symphony of sorrow as the city came to grips with the magnitude of a disaster that echoed through its very soul. Telwa Joseph Erickson, a 29-year-old, was on the SS Eastland and found himself on the ship's upper deck when it began to list dangerously to one side. Instead of panicking or trying to save himself, Erickson took it upon himself to help others. He braved the treacherous conditions, climbing on the railing to help others climb onto the adjacent dock. Risking his own life, Joseph Erickson pulled person after person to safety, refusing to give up even as the ship continued to tilt further. Accounts of that fateful day describe how he worked tirelessly, hauling men, women, and children to safety, showing remarkable strength and determination. Erickson's selfless acts of heroism were captured in photographs taken by bystanders, immortalizing his bravery for generations to come. In one of these photographs, he can be seen crouched on the ship's railing, reaching out to a terrified woman, ready to pull her to safety. A true selfless act of courage, and because of that, Joseph Erickson's actions on the SS Eastland saved numerous lives that day. Until the early 20th century, maritime disasters were commonly associated with accidents at sea, such as shipwrecks or collisions, and hardly ever was reported globally on river disasters. The Eastland disaster demonstrated the potential dangers that lay even in the seemingly safe confines of a docked vessel. This forced a reassessment of safety measures in the maritime industry. In the aftermath of the tragedy, maritime regulations were tightened, focusing not only on safety at sea, but also on the monitoring and inspection of ships while docked. The incident prompted the implementation of new guidelines, including limitations on passenger capacity, mandatory stability tests, and requirements for life-saving equipment. The disaster also had profound implications for the public's perception of maritime travel. Prior to the Eastland disaster, passenger ships were seen as glamorous symbols of luxury and modernity. However, the shocking loss of life on a vessel that was supposed to represent safety and security shook public confidence in the industry. This shift in perception led to increased scrutiny of shipbuilders, owners, and operators, demanding greater accountability and transparency. The tragedy prompted the development of standardized safety measures, which became an integral part of the maritime industry's practices. Moreover, the Eastland disaster sparked a wave of public outrage and grief that resonated throughout the country. This incident served as a catalyst for advocacy groups and labour unions, which fought for improved working conditions and increased safety regulations for maritime workers. In the years following the Eastland disaster, legislation was enacted to address the issues raised by the tragedy. The Public Vessels Act of 1925 and other regulations were established to hold shipowners accountable for ensuring the safety of their passengers and crew. Passenger limits were imposed, stability tests mandated, and life-saving equipment standardized. Investigations delved deeper into ship design and construction, prioritizing passenger safety above mere speed or capacity. The Eastland disaster serves as a somber reminder of the far-reaching consequences of maritime tragedies. While it was a devastating event, the lessons learned from this disaster have undeniably shaped the maritime industry for the better. Today, we can appreciate the rigorous safety standards and regulations that exist to protect those who travel by sea. Names and ages forever etched into the annals of history. The victims of the Eastland disaster. Memorials were erected, their inscriptions whispering stories of lives cut short. For the families left behind, grief was an ever-present companion. Photos adorned walls, cherished objects held close, each serving as a bittersweet reminder of those they had lost. The pain of their absence resonated through the generations, a silent ache that has never truly subsided. Survivors of the disaster found solace in their shared grief. Through their collective strength, survivors found healing and a renewed purpose. In tribute to the victims, memorials were created, their inscriptions etching their stories into the city's landscape. Its inscription echoes the sentiment of a community forever changed. Did you know that more passengers perished in this disaster than the passengers of the RMS Titanic sinking? The 844 souls who perished July 24th, 1915. Let us honor their memory, ensuring that their legacy lives on. The Eastland disaster occurred during a time when the United States was mourning the loss of the Titanic, and Europe was already fighting in World War I, contributing to the impact this tragedy had on the world. The saga of the St. Joseph Chicago Steamship Company unfolded beneath the harsh scrutiny of legal consequences, and the subsequent trial became a gripping spectacle that captivated not only the nation, but also the world. Initially, theories pointed accusing fingers at overcrowding as the root cause of the ship's instability. The Eastland, designed to accommodate 2,500 passengers and crew, tragically lacked lifeboats for even a fraction of that number, a grievous oversight with catastrophic consequences. Yet, as investigators delved deeper into the abyss of the disaster, they unearthed a labyrinth of negligence and perilous practices that painted a far bleaker tableau. A pivotal element in the calamity was the inherent design flaw embedded within the Eastland. The vessel, top-heavy and burdened by a center of gravity positioned too high, became a ticking time bomb. This structural inadequacy, aggravated by the addition of weighty lifeboats to meet safety regulations, rendered the ship susceptible to instability. Despite explicit warnings from naval architects, and a history of near-miss incidents, the owners callously ignored these red flags, prioritizing profit over the safety of passengers. Further investigations peeled back the layers to expose a culture of negligence entrenched within the operations of the Eastland. Crew members, under relentless pressure to hasten the loading process without adequate precautions, bore witness to a rush to departure. This haste left passengers oblivious to the ship's precarious nature, compounding an already perilous situation. Additionally, maintenance deficiencies emerged, unveiling corroded hull plates and improperly secured ballast tanks that further compromised the stability of the ill-fated vessel. But perhaps the most chilling discovery during the investigation revealed that the crew members had intentionally blocked the ship's water intake valves, preventing the ingress of water to stabilize the vessel. This sinister act was carried out with the aim of maintaining the appearance of stability, despite the ship's inherent design flaws, and the consequences of this deliberate sabotage were felt by the hundreds of innocent lives lost that fateful day. The subsequent courtroom drama unfolded with palpable tension as blame shifted from one entity to another. The owners of the ill-fated Eastland, the St. Joseph Chicago Steamship Company, swiftly assumed the role of innocent victims in the face of an unforeseen tragedy. They contended that the ship, with a history of stability issues, had purportedly undergone corrective measures before its fatal journey. Their defense centered on the assertion that all necessary precautions had been taken, and the disaster was merely an uncontrollable act of God. However, the veneer of innocence began to crumble as it became evident that the Eastland's stability issues persisted. Testimonies revealed a troubling history of instability, marked by prior incidents of listing and near capsize. Was sheer negligence in maintaining the vessel's stability emerged as a significant factor, with crew members tampering with the ship's crucial ballast system, essential for maintaining balance. The trial also cast a spotlight on the role of government regulators in the tragedy. The U.S. Steamboat Inspection Service, tasked with ensuring vessel safety, faced scrutiny. Documents unveiled that the service had knowledge of the Eastland's stability problems, but failed to enforce necessary repairs or impose sanctions on the company. This negligence raised crucial questions about accountability and oversight. As witnesses took the stand, survivors recounted their harrowing ordeals, infusing the courtroom with a human dimension. Families wept as they shared the profound loss of loved ones and the ensuing struggles they confronted. Their poignant stories underscored the need for justice and accountability. Ultimately, culpability for the Eastland disaster was attributed to multiple parties. The St. Joseph Chicago Steamship Company owners were mandated to pay reparations to the victims' families, while the government regulator faced scathing criticism for its negligence. The courtroom became a potent symbol of a flawed system, urging a call for stricter regulations, corporate accountability, and a renewed commitment to passenger safety. As the trial unfolded in the aftermath of the Eastland disaster, Ericsson's actions faced scrutiny. It soon became evident that his efforts had been pivotal in saving many from certain demise. Eyewitness accounts and survivor testimonies painted a poignant portrait of Ericsson's heroism, emphasizing his unwavering determination to aid others, even at significant personal risk, even in the face of unimaginable tragedy. His steadfast resolve and leadership transformed him into a beacon of hope amidst despair. Eriksson's trial also illuminated the systemic issues contributing to the Eastland disaster. Investigations laid bare the negligence of the ship's owners, who prioritized profit over passenger safety. Unsafe modifications to the vessel and the overloading of passengers emerged as key factors leading to the catastrophic event. While the trial sought justice for those responsible, it simultaneously underscored the imperative need for stringent regulations within the maritime industry to safeguard future voyages. In the grand narrative of the Eastland disaster, Joseph Eriksson's actions epitomized the indomitable resilience of the human spirit. Despite the horrors he faced, he extended a helping hand without hesitation, becoming a symbol of hope in the midst of darkness. His bravery stands as a poignant reminder that even in the bleakest times, acts of heroism can emerge, casting light on the path to hope and healing. As the sands of time continue to flow, it remains imperative to honor individuals like Joseph Eriksson, whose courage and sacrifice shaped the legacy of the Eastland disaster. Eriksson's trial not only unveiled the pursuit of justice, but also celebrated the triumph of the human spirit over adversity. His story serves as a compelling reminder of the latent heroism within each of us, and the vital importance of standing up for what is right, irrespective of the circumstances. Chicago. No longer just a bustling metropolis, it became a city marked by both loss and resilience. The Eastland disaster permanently impacted the psyche of Chicagoans and would be forever etched in the city's history. The memory of the disaster also sparked a sense of resilience within the Chicago community. Survivors, families of victims, and concerned citizens banded together to seek justice for the lives lost. They fought for compensation for the victims' families, raising awareness about the vulnerability of working-class communities in the face of such disasters. The Eastland disaster forced Chicago to confront the harsh realities of industrialization, safety standards, and the need for social change. The incident also served as a catalyst for other cities across the country to re-evaluate their safety regulations and disaster preparedness. As years passed, the physical reminders of the Eastland disaster gradually faded away from Chicago's landscape. The ruined ship was raised from the river, repaired and renamed several times before finally being sold for scrap in the 1940s. However, the impact of the disaster continues to resonate within the hearts and minds of Chicagoans, reminding us of the tragic event that reshaped the city's history. Each victim's lives are honored by maritime safety regulations, and the memorials along the Chicago River stand as silent sentinels, whispering the names of those lost and urging us to learn from past mistakes. They remind us that each life holds unimaginable value, and that responsibility and accountability are cornerstones of a just society. We will go through each name with utmost respect and reverence, recognizing the lives and stories of every individual. By doing so, we hope to humanize the tragedy and offer a moment of reflection for those affected by this catastrophic event. The journey of the Eastland, from the joyous anticipation of that summer morning to the chilling depths of tragedy, is a tale that must be remembered. It is a story of lives lost, resilience forged, and lessons learned. In remembering the fallen, we honour their memory and carry their torch of hope forward. We strive to build a future where safety reigns supreme, and where the joy of a simple day trip never again descends into a nightmare. As Chicago continues to evolve, bearing the scars of the Eastland alongside its vibrant spirit, thank you for joining me on this journey through history. If you haven't already, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you won't miss any of our future videos. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the SS Eastland in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring and remember, history is always watching.